The gentle hum of the Galactic Council's chamber filled the air as Ambassador Lyra Davidson adjusted her formal United Earth diplomatic uniform. 20 years of human space exploration had earned humanity a seat at this table, though many still viewed Earth's representatives with barely concealed skepticism. The massive crystalline chamber housed delegates from over 300 species, each platform hovering at their preferred atmospheric height and pressure. Ambassador Davidson had learned to read alien body language well enough to notice the subtle signs of boredom among the delegates. The Meridian representatives' tentacles drooped slightly, while the Crystalline Quartz Collective's delegates pulsed with the slow rhythm that indicated their rest cycle. Another routine council meeting, or so everyone thought. The emergency broadcast cut through the chamber's peaceful atmosphere like a plasma torch through hull plating. The central holographic display erupted with images that made Davidson's blood run cold. The Cresorian Empire, a militant species from the Outer Rim, had launched an unprovoked attack on the Luminera, a species of energy beings who had never developed weapons of any kind. The Luminera existed as patterns of pure energy, creating art through the manipulation of stellar radiation. Their achievements in sustainable energy and environmental harmony had earned them universal respect, if not understanding. They were, by any definition, completely defenseless. The Cresorian fleet has already destroyed 3 Luminera stellar nurseries, reported Admiral Thexus, the Arcturian head of galactic security. His scaled skin shifted from blue to a troubled green as he continued. They're systematically targeting every Luminera convergence point in the sector. Davidson watched the faces, and other sensory organs, of the assembled delegates. She saw the same expression repeated across 100 different species, horror mixed with resignation. The Cresorians were known for their military might, and no single species wanted to risk their wrath. "We propose an emergency session to discuss potential diplomatic solutions," suggested the Vularian representative, their crystalline form vibrating with careful diplomatic frequencies. "Perhaps trade sanctions dash. While we discuss, the Luminera die." Davidson's voice cut through the chamber, steady and cold. She stood, allowing her platform to rise slightly, a calculated gesture of assertion in council protocol. "Humanity requests emergency coordinates of all Luminera gathering points and their current flight vectors." Ambassador Davidson, the Arcturian administrator's voice carried a note of warning. "The Cresorian Empire's military capabilities are substantial, yes. But they've never faced humanity." Davidson activated her neural link, sending a pre-prepared authorization code to the Council's central computer. "I am hereby informing the Council that the United Earth Federation has activated the Emergency Species Protection Protocol. The 7th Fleet is already mobilizing." The chamber erupted in chaos. The Meridian delegation's tentacles whipped in agitation, while the Quartz Collective's crystals pulsed with alarm frequencies. Davidson ignored them all, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the Cresorian advance. "You cannot be serious," the Vularian representative's crystalline form flashed with disbelief. "Your species has barely mastered stable warp fields. The Cresorian fleet has over 300 capital ships." Davidson allowed herself a small smile. "You're right. We are young. We are technologically behind many of you. But there's something you should understand about humans." She stepped forward, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages, predators, and our own worst impulses. And we emerged with one unshakable principle: you protect those who cannot protect themselves." Her neural link chimed with confirmation. The 7th Fleet had completed emergency deployment protocols. 75 ships, the pride of human engineering and determination, ready for what could be their final battle. Humanity will not stand by while an innocent species is exterminated. Not now. Not ever. She turned to Admiral Thexus. "Transmit the coordinates to Fleet Admiral Harrison." And to any species who wishes to prove that civilization means more than just technological advancement, your help would be welcome. As Davidson resumed her seat, she noticed something unprecedented. The chamber had fallen completely silent. In all her years of diplomatic service, she had never witnessed such a thing. And in that silence, she saw something else: respect. Not for humanity's technology or their economic power, but for something far more fundamental: their willingness to stand up for what was right, regardless of the cost. The battle that would follow would change the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. But in that moment, in that silence, the first seeds of that change were already taking root. Fleet Admiral Raven Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the holographic display as her fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. The 75 ships of the 7th Fleet represented humanity's finest achievement in space warfare, though she hoped the galaxy would never truly understand why. Multiple Cressorian signatures detected, reported Lieutenant Commander Gene Park from his tactical station. They're firing on something, Admiral. Energy patterns consistent with Luminara life signs. Harrison's jaw tightened. The scene before them was worse than their intelligence had suggested. The Cressorian fleet had surrounded a Luminara stellar nursery, a delicate structure of pure energy where new Luminara consciousness emerged. Their weapons were systematically disrupting the energy patterns, effectively committing genocide. "Open fleet-wide channels," Harrison commanded, her voice steady despite the anger building in her chest. "This is Fleet Admiral Harrison of the United Earth Federation. All ships, battle formation Delta. Remember your training. Remember why we're here." The human fleet moved with practiced precision. Unlike the rigid, standardized formations of the Cressorian ships, the human vessels flowed like water, each ship maintaining seemingly random vectors while actually following complex, unpredictable patterns developed through centuries of naval warfare on Earth's oceans. "Cressorian fleet is responding," Park reported. "They're laughing, Admiral. Audio transmission incoming." The harsh, grating voice of the Cressorian fleet commander filled the bridge. "Primitive humans. Your ships are fewer, your technology inferior. Leave now, and we may spare your species the embarrassment of defeat." Harrison allowed herself a small smile. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, deploy the Firefly drones. Commander Park, initiate Protocol Omega. Dr. Rhodes, begin energy pattern analysis of the nursery." Across the fleet, thousands of small, seemingly harmless drones launched from human ships. The Cressorians ignored them, a mistake their tactical analysts would later spend years regretting. The drones, inspired by Earth's fireflies, began emitting complex patterns of light and energy. "Energy patterns synchronized," Dr. Olivia Rhodes reported, her fingers dancing across her holographic interface. "The Luminara are responding. They understand, Admiral." The Firefly drones, product of 5 years of secret research into Luminara communication, were doing their job. They were telling the energy beings exactly what humanity needed them to do, and more importantly, why they should trust these strange biological entities who had come to their defense. "Cressorian fleet is moving to engage," Park announced. "Their formation suggests they're preparing for a standard overwhelming force tactical approach." "Standard for them, perhaps," Harrison murmured. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega. Dr. Rhodes, signal the Luminara, now." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The human fleet, seemingly scattered and vulnerable, suddenly revealed their true strategy. Each ship activated their experimental quantum field generators, technology reverse-engineered from studies of Luminara energy patterns. The Firefly drones, positioned precisely throughout the battlefield, began resonating with the Luminara's natural energy frequencies. The space between the two fleets lit up with patterns of pure energy as the Luminara, understanding humanity's plan, joined their efforts with the human ships. Cressorian weapons are firing, Park reported, but there was a note of triumph in his voice. No impact. Their energy weapons are being absorbed and redistributed through the quantum field network. The Luminara, creatures of pure energy, had become part of humanity's defense network. Every shot fired by the Cressorian fleet was caught in a web of light and energy, transformed and dispersed harmlessly into space. It was a strategy that could only have come from a species that understood both the hard science of warfare and the vital importance of cooperation. Signal the Cressorian commander, Harrison ordered, standing tall on her bridge. Tell them they have one chance to withdraw. After that, we show them why you should never underestimate humanity's ability to protect those in need. The Cressorian response came in the form of increased weapons fire, all of it useless against the combined human Luminara defense network. Harrison nodded grimly. Very well. All ships, activate targeting solutions. Dr. Rhodes, signal the Luminara to begin Phase 2. Let's show the galaxy what happens when humanity's technological innovation meets our determination to protect the defenseless. The battle that followed would become legend, not for its destruction, but for how it ended, with a demonstration of power so precise, so controlled, that it changed the galaxy's understanding of warfare itself. And at its heart was a truth that would reshape galactic politics. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology, but their ability to turn compassion into an unstoppable force. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council's emergency session chamber buzzed with an energy that felt almost electric. Ambassador Davidson stood before the assembled delegates, her uniform still bearing traces of smoke from when the UES Defiance bridge had taken a direct hit during the final moments of the confrontation. The Cressorian fleet has withdrawn to their territory, she reported, her voice carrying the weight of recent events. All surviving Luminara congregations have been secured. The human fleet sustained damage to 23 vessels, with 4 complete losses. She paused, letting the numbers sink in. All crew members were successfully evacuated. We count this as an acceptable cost for preventing genocide. The Meridian representative, Zorval, raised all 4 of their appendages, a sign of extreme agitation. Acceptable cost? You've triggered a diplomatic crisis. The Cressorian Empire is demanding reparations for their losses and threatening full-scale war. Dr. Nisha Patel, Earth's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward from her position behind Davidson. Her dark eyes swept across the chamber as she activated a holographic display. Perhaps we should discuss what was actually saved today. The display filled with swirling patterns of light, Luminara energy signatures. Each of these patterns represents thousands of developing Luminara consciousness. The nurseries the Cressorians targeted weren't just gathering places, they were the future of an entire species. The chamber grew quiet as Dr. Patel's words sank in. The Quartz Collective's representatives pulsed with frequencies indicating deep contemplation. Even the usually dismissive Arcturian delegates leaned forward in their gravity chairs. What the Council may not fully appreciate, Dr. Patel continued, is that humanity's intervention wasn't just military. The Firefly drone network we deployed? She gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show the intricate web of communications that had been established. It's not a weapon system. It's a translation matrix. For the first time in galactic history, the Luminara can directly communicate with other species. The revelation sent ripples of astonishment through the chamber. The Vularian representative's crystalline form vibrated with frequencies indicating intense interest. You developed this technology in secret? Not in secret, Ambassador Davidson corrected. We developed it because we believed understanding was possible. Because we refused to accept that any species was truly unknowable. She smiled slightly. It's what humans do. We see barriers, and we find ways through them, around them, or over them. The chamber's main doors opened, admitting a sight few had ever witnessed, a controlled Luminara energy pattern, contained within a specially designed human environmental field. The pattern pulsed with colors that Dr. Patel's translation matrix immediately converted to words. We speak now, through human innovation, to tell our truth. We have existed in isolation, watching, learning, but unable to share our knowledge. The humans did not just save our children, they gave us a voice. Ambassador Davidson watched the impact of these words ripple through the assembly. The Meridian representatives' agitation transformed into something approaching awe. The Arcturian delegates' scales shifted to colors indicating deep emotional response. The Chrysaorians' threat of war is real, Davidson acknowledged, her voice firm. But so is humanity's commitment to protecting those who cannot protect themselves. We didn't act because we sought conflict. We acted because it was right. She activated her neural link, projecting a new set of data onto the chamber's displays. What you're seeing now is our proposal for a galactic defense initiative. Not an army, but a cooperative framework. Combining human determination with Luminara communication capabilities, Vularian energy manipulation, Meridian spatial awareness, and the unique strengths of every species willing to participate. You want to create a peacekeeping force? The Arcturian administrator's tone carried disbelief. Based on what authority? Based on the authority of conscience, Davidson replied. Based on the principle that advanced civilization means nothing if we won't use our advancement to protect those in need. She gestured to the Luminara presence. We've proven it's possible. We've shown that different species, working together, can achieve what none of us could do alone. The Luminara pattern shifted, displaying colors that the translation matrix rendered as words of profound impact. We offer our knowledge freely to this initiative. The humans have shown us that isolation is a choice, and protection can come from unexpected sources. We choose to stand with them. As the chamber erupted in discussion, Davidson shared a knowing look with Dr. Patel. The price of compassion might be high, but the rewards, the forging of new alliances, the breaking of ancient barriers, the creation of something truly new in the galaxy, made it worth every cost. The command center of the newly established Galactic Defense Initiative buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across 3 sectors. Fleet Admiral Harrison stood before the massive holographic display, her expression grim as she studied the tactical overlay. The Chrysaorian response had finally come, and it was everything they had feared. 500 warships, Lieutenant Commander Park reported, his voice tight with tension. They've deployed their entire battle fleet. Multiple vectors of approach, targeting not just human space but also Luminara convergence points and allied systems. Dr. Rhodes worked furiously at her station, coordinating with the Luminara through the expanded Firefly network. The energy beings are reporting unusual disturbances in subspace. The Chrysaorians have developed something new, some kind of energy disruption technology specifically designed to harm the Luminara. Harrison's eyes narrowed. They've been planning this. The attack on the nurseries was just a test, probing our defenses and studying our response. She turned to the holographic representation of Ambassador Davidson. How's the diplomatic front? The Galactic Council is in emergency session, Davidson reported, her image flickering slightly due to the distance of her transmission. The Vularians and Meridians have officially joined our defense initiative. Their ships are moving to support positions now. It won't be enough, Commander Sanjay Dhawan spoke up from his strategic analysis station. The veteran tactician had spent decades studying warfare across species. The Chrysaorians aren't just coming to fight, they're coming to make a statement. They want to prove that compassion is weakness, that their philosophy of strength through dominance is the only way. Harrison allowed herself a small smile. Then let's prove them wrong. Commander Dhawan, initiate Protocol Prometheus. The command center erupted in activity as the long-prepared protocol went into effect. Across human space, hidden installations began powering up. The Firefly network, now expanded and enhanced through cooperation with the Luminara, pulsed with new patterns of energy. Receiving transmission from the Chrysaorian Supreme Commander, Park announced. Text only. They're demanding our immediate surrender and the disbanding of the defense initiative. Respond with Protocol Prometheus authorization codes, Harrison ordered. Let's show them what happens when humanity's determination meets the combined knowledge of multiple species. The holographic display shifted, showing new tactical overlays. The combined human-alien fleet was drastically outnumbered, but numbers weren't everything. Centuries of warfare on Earth had taught humanity that victory often went to those who could think differently, adapt faster, and work together more effectively. Luminara energy patterns are synchronized, Dr. Rhodes reported. Vularian crystal ships in position. Meridian sensor arrays online. The network is ready, Admiral. Harrison took a deep breath. Initiate the Prometheus cascade. What followed would redefine warfare in the galaxy. The Firefly network, originally designed for communication and defense, transformed into something entirely new. Each drone became a node in a vast web of energy, combining Luminara consciousness, Vularian crystal technology, and human ingenuity. The Chrysaorian fleet opened fire, only to find their energy weapons caught and redirected through the network. Each shot they fired strengthened the very defense they were trying to break. The Meridian sensor arrays predicted their movements with uncanny accuracy, while Vularian ships used their crystalline technology to refract and redirect energy across space itself. Enemy fleet is reporting massive systems failures, Park announced, excitement creeping into his voice. The Prometheus cascade is working. Their energy weapons are being turned back on their own shields. But Harrison knew the real victory wasn't in the technology. It was in what the technology represented, the ability of different species to work together, to combine their strengths and overcome their individual weaknesses. Send to all ships, she commanded. Execute final phase. Show them why you never underestimate the power of cooperation. The combined fleet moved as one, each species playing its part in a symphony of coordinated action. Human ships provided the tactical backbone, Vularian vessels channeled and amplified energy, Meridian ships predicted and countered enemy movements, and through it all, the Luminara consciousness guided and coordinated their efforts with impossible precision. The Chrysaorian fleet, for all its numerical superiority, found itself facing something they had never anticipated, a force that grew stronger with each attack, an enemy that turned their own power against them, and a coalition bound together not by fear or dominance, but by the shared belief that protecting others was the highest calling of any advanced civilization. As the battle reached its climax, Harrison watched the tactical display with quiet satisfaction. The Chrysaorians hadn't just miscalculated, they had fundamentally misunderstood what they were fighting against. This wasn't just humanity standing against them. This was the future of galactic civilization itself, proving that cooperation would always triumph over domination. 10 years after the Battle of the Prometheus Cascade, Ambassador Lyra Davidson stood in the observation dome of Harmony Station, watching ships from a dozen different species dock and depart. The massive space station, built through the combined efforts of humanity and their allies, had become a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. Quite a view, isn't it? Fleet Admiral Harrison, now sporting a few more gray hairs, joined her at the window. The Chrysaorian diplomatic vessel just arrived. Their new ambassador is apparently quite young, part of their reformist movement. Davidson nodded, remembering the long negotiations that had followed the battle. The Chrysaorian Empire hadn't collapsed after their defeat, instead, it had transformed. The younger generation, seeing the power of cooperation demonstrated so decisively, had gradually taken control and begun rebuilding their society on new principles. Director Rhodes says the latest expansion of the Firefly network is complete, Harrison continued. We're now able to facilitate real-time communication between 17 different species that previously couldn't interact directly at all. The mention of the network brought a smile to Davidson's face. What had started as a defensive system had evolved into the backbone of a new galactic society. The Luminara, once isolated by their very nature, now served as teachers and philosophers, sharing their unique perspective on existence with organic species. Ambassador Davidson? A young lieutenant approached, tablet in hand. The ceremony is ready to begin. Davidson straightened her uniform and followed the lieutenant toward the station's Grand Assembly chamber. Today marked the 10th anniversary of the Galactic Defense Initiative, but more importantly, it marked the ratification of the Sentient Species Protection Accord, a document that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. The chamber was packed with representatives from across the galaxy. Dr. Patel sat with a group of xenobiologists, discussing something with animated gestures. Commander Dowan, now head of the initiative's Strategic Command, was deep in conversation with Vularian and Meridian military leaders. And floating above them all, Luminara energy patterns danced in complex, beautiful formations. As Davidson took her place at the podium, she felt the weight of history. The document before her represented everything humanity had hoped to achieve when they first looked to the stars, not conquest or dominance, but understanding and protection. Distinguished representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 10 years ago, humanity made a choice. We chose to stand for those who couldn't stand for themselves. We chose to believe that true civilization isn't measured by technological advancement or military might, but by how we treat those in need of protection. She gestured to the massive window behind her, where ships of all shapes and sizes moved in harmony. Look at what that choice has brought us. Not just peace, but understanding. Not just cooperation, but genuine friendship between species that once thought they had nothing in common. A Luminara pattern floated forward, its colors translating through the enhanced Firefly network. The humans taught us that isolation is a choice. They showed us that strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. Davidson smiled. The accord we signed today isn't just a legal document. It's a promise that no species in this galaxy will ever have to face threats alone. A promise that we will stand together, protect each other, and build a future based on mutual understanding and respect. The Cresorian ambassador, young and earnest, stood. My people once believed that strength came from dominance. Humanity showed us a different kind of strength, the strength that comes from defending others. We are honored to add our signature to this accord. As the signing ceremony proceeded, Davidson found herself thinking about that first day in the council chamber, when humanity had made its stand. They hadn't known then if they would succeed. They had only known they had to try. The galaxy had changed since then. The Galactic Defense Initiative had evolved into something far greater than a military alliance. The Firefly network had become a symbol of connection and understanding. And humanity, once seen as primitive newcomers, had earned their place not through force or technology, but through their unwavering commitment to protecting those in need. It's quite something, isn't it? Harrison murmured beside her. All this, because we refused to stand by and do nothing. Davidson watched as species after species added their signatures to the accord. That's always been humanity's greatest strength, she replied. Not our technology, not our determination, but our ability to look at something wrong and say, not on our watch. As the ceremony concluded, the Luminara put on a spectacular display, their energy patterns forming complex, beautiful shapes that represented the interconnected nature of all sentient life. And in that moment, Davidson knew that humanity had achieved something far greater than military victory or technological advancement. They had helped create a galaxy where compassion wasn't seen as weakness, but as the greatest strength of all.